Yes. The secular humanists, which I like to call the religious left, dug themselves into our political system, our healthcare system, and most importantly, our educational system some 30 or 40 years ago. And they're dug in there like an Alabama tick. So no matter what you teach in CCD, it's going to be undone by 4 o'clock on Monday. My question is, what do we do as responsible Catholic parents to become politically active in the school board and the public school system to promote the teachings of Humanae Vitae?
We send our children to Catholic schools, but of course, as you well know, you can't always be sure there.
Everybody can't afford that.
I know that, and that's the case when our children get into high school. We send them to Catholic schools all the way up through high school, which is, frankly, we can't afford. It's $2,500 a head in Philadelphia, and they've had to go over to public schools when they get to high school. But you know also that you cannot let up on your vigilance even when they're in Catholic schools. Parents that have children in Catholic schools, I've encountered that too. And that's why my point is this: the most important thing is to live exemplary lives for your children in the home and to impart to your children in the home, rather than relying on religion teachers or teachers in the schools. You're to provide it yourself. Now, I found that when our children go off into the public schools, and you can't always have the assurance that this will happen, but we've been very blessed. Our children have consistently carried Catholic truth into the public schools. I mean, our daughter in her health class, they were in her sex ed class, and she had to attend, and she had to give a paper, and so she did it on the health risks of the intrauterine device. And I mean, it threw the teacher off because the teacher didn't expect that, but the teacher couldn't do anything about it because she had done her assignment, and of course, she had lots of statistics and clinical evidence to back her up on what she was doing. So we can also, Bob was talking about infiltrating, becoming fifth columns. I think we ought to have a more proactive attitude with regard to our children in the schools, form them, shape them, and be sending them out there to undermine the basic and secular humanism.
We have similar experiences with the Haas family. Our first one we felt was strong enough that we could put in there and let him go at it, and he basically, you know, we put him in all the sex ed classes and everything else, and he twisted everything around, and he did all sorts of things. And the interesting thing is that every so often he would come up to a teacher would come up to him and very quietly just grab his arm and say, "Good job, keep it up." Other kids were coming along and saying, "You know, my parents teach me the same thing at home." But some, you know, you have to. Now, on the other hand, if you feel that, you know, you say, "Well, why do I pay all this money to send my kid to a Catholic school and to lose their faith?" With our second one, we put in a Catholic school because we felt that she was less mature than he was at the 9th grade level, and he went in. But let me back to basics. We had to jumpstart our family when our oldest was 9. I mean, we didn't do prayers before meals or anything. So, and it was very traumatic for us. Fortunately, we caught him at that age, and we were able to bring prayer and stuff into the family then. But we started using the Ignatius Press series, Faith and Life series, catechism for grades 1K through 8, I guess. And we basically started supplementing the CCD program with that. And for the little kids, that was a lot of fun because they had an extra book that they could take. And I mean, even now, we noticed in one of our first grade books, they were talking about Jesus, but they really never came out and told the kid that Jesus is the Son of God. So my wife just wrote in, very nice print, Jesus is God. And, you know, because the little boy, our youngest, knew that, but it was necessary to do that. And it was also sending a signal to the teachers. You have to begin questioning the teachers. You have to, not in a confrontational way, but in a positive way. In our diocese, we have several, well, if anybody gets the Catholic World Report, take a look at the July issue. and I will say no more on that subject, but basically some priests and pastors have taken it into their own hands to clean up the CCD programs. If you're involved in the CCD program and you're in a position of leadership, don't let any couples of dissent be part of the program. We have a parish, new pastor came in, he removed the DRE, he removed all the CCD teachers, and he imported them from Christendom College until he had Christendom for a year until he had enough to bring the right ones in. And for a while there were short teachers, and he would rather be short teachers rather than teaching them something else, and the parents, understood this.
Very good.
Just one other thing I wanted to add, that while we need to evangelize other families, the families that you intend to spend time with need to share your values. Then you won't become the meanest parent on the block. We used to be in competition every year. Our oldest used to tell us we won. We're the strictest, most conservative, the meanest parents of all of his friends. Now we have a lot of competition because we're a little more selective. And we have to, what I mean by that is we have to associate with, parents, adults who are raising their children in the same moral values that we're raising ours. And they get to see this and they get to say, hey, these kids aren't nerds or geeks or whatever they call them now. These are good kids. We have a lot of fun, and most of those kids are far more creative and a whole lot more fun because they don't sit in front of the TV or in front of the computer all day. So, keep that in mind, and also that your formation is critical. You're constantly teaching your children, always preparing them, and if you always give them truth, when they get to those teen years and they may become rebellious and defiant and they'll go and ask all their friends about something, when they come down to wanting the truth, they know they can come back to you, and even if they don't like your answer, you will always give them truth.
Well, just quickly, but one of the great things, children naturally become defiant and rebellious. But what our children love is they're defiant and rebellious against the system, which is the established secular humanist system. So they love being rebellious against the established secular system. So you can take these natural human developments and turn them to the good.